Law school, law school, law school. What's up, fairy flock? Welcome to or welcome back to my channel. As some of you know, I am going to officially be attending law school in fall, and I'm super excited to take you guys along on the journey with me. I'm starting this series called Leveled Up Law to help you guys get the breakdown on all of the mysteries surrounding law school applications and the process. So if you want to know more about law school and the application process, make sure to subscribe to my channel and click the like button so I know to make more of these videos. Today, for the first episode, I'm going to be talking about how to know if you should go to law school. I decided to go to law school because I had a lot of undergraduate experience and post-undergraduate experience that showed me that law had a lot of different sides to it. And I realized too that the passions that I had for esports and gaming could be applied in law as well. I realized that I had a natural attraction to the writing of rules and who they affected and how it affected those people. I personally am ultimately interested in the esports industry and video games and how the rules that are being created that govern that space are affecting everything from corporations all the way down to the professional esports player or the casual video game player or even content creators who use those programs. So Keely, how do I know if I should go to law school? Everyone has their own unique reasoning for going to law school or doing anything else for that fact. But I often get a lot of people telling me they can't go to law school for a number of reasons. And some of those reasons are very, very valid. But some of them are much less serious than it might originally appear. For example, a lot of people write off the option of going to law school because they got low grades in undergraduate and therefore could not get into any law school. I want to tell you that low grades, low LSAT score, or even character and fitness issues, which are things like misdemeanors or other academic dishonesty type things on your record, are not going to be the end-all be-all for whether or not you can go to law school. Those things can be overcome by performing well in the other categories. For example, if you have a low LSAT score, which is the law school basically entrance exam, if you have a low LSAT score, you can kind of supplement it by having a higher GPA so that you come off on even levels with other people who have potentially higher numbers than you. Vice versa, if you have a low GPA and you have a higher LSAT score, it similarly balances that out for you. If you're like me, I had a low GPA and a very, very average LSAT score. Contrary to a lot of forums telling you absolutely have to be above these numbers, that just wasn't the case for me. And there are a lot of factors that go into it too besides LSAT and GPA. For example, ethnicity is considered. Underrepresented minorities do get what's called a URM boost. In some cases, can help you out in the law school admissions process. Now I'll talk in later episodes about how to put together a list of schools to apply to and how to assemble your application so that it is nice and cohesive and speaks to who you are for admissions councils. But for right now, just know that your grades, your LSAT, or character and fitness issues don't have to eliminate you from being eligible to attend law school. Another reason a lot of people are deterred from going to law school is the cost behind it. I cannot sugarcoat it. It is a very expensive process and a very expensive undertaking. However, there are a lot of opportunities for scholarship, both from the institution that you decide to attend and from outside sources such as law firms or grants from organizations or the state. So go into this process knowing that it's going to be expensive and it's going to be hard, but you can make it more affordable if you calculate your approach to the process and do some extra work on the side to help make it more financially plausible for you. Another thing people often ask about is whether you have to be K through JD or you can take a couple of years off. Now, for those that don't know, K through JD means basically you went all the way from kindergarten up to your JD without taking a break. That means right after college, you immediately that fall then start law school, which also means taking the LSAT during your 4th year of college. Now, for some, college is very, very stressful and can cause burnout, which for me was the case. So I took about 4 years off between graduating undergraduate and then applying for law school. I think both options have their merits, that being whether you want to go K through JD or you want to be a non-traditional applicant and wait a couple of years in between undergraduate and applying to law school. K through JD, if you can withstand it, it is obviously finishing a lot earlier than your peers who did choose to wait. Some people are very, very driven by being able to just keep going, and once they stop, their energy energy kind of dwindles. But a lot of other people who, for whatever reason, take a non-traditional path, for a lot of those people, the case is simply that they are burnt out and they need time to reset before they go through the grueling process of law school. For a lot of other people, it also is due to the fact that they can get extra work experience that they weren't able to get during undergraduate. Like I said, either way has their merits, and you're going to know what's right for you and your process. Speaking of undergraduate degrees, don't be worried if your undergraduate major was not law related or English related. You can go to law school with any sort of degree, and in some cases, STEM backgrounds have a slight leg up in certain areas of law, such as intellectual property and patent law, where you do need those particular majors to be able to be eligible for the patent bar exam. If you don't want to go down that particular aspect of law, there are so many different types of law available to you, and they aren't going to be dictated by the type of major you were in undergraduate. You don't have to major in pre-law to go to law school. There are some of you out there that are in other careers and looking to shift into the legal industry from the careers that you're in right now. Like with all paths, make sure that this is the one that you want. Law school is unfortunately a very expensive undertaking and also a very stressful undertaking. I wouldn't want to go through with that kind of big decision without truly thinking about it and how it figures into the scheme of my life and my mental health and the outcomes that can come from it. I do want you to be aware of the fact that in a lot of cases for schools, they list reports that show their 25th, 50th, and 75th percentile salaries for their first year graduates of their law program. I encourage you to check those out before you choose a school and before you go down this path, because in some cases, working 10 plus years as, say, a secretary or an event designer will yield you a very similar salary to what being a lawyer would yield you after your graduation from their JD program. So just be aware that although the portrayal of lawyers is that they are very high income and ritzy, it is not always the case, and in some cases lawyers are making just as much as a high-level practitioner in a different industry, such as event planning or secretarial work. Now, that all being said, the income ceiling and earnings potential for a lawyer is a lot more overall, but don't bank on getting like a $200,000 salary as a lawyer. Not everybody's going to get that salary. So just be wary of that. I'm not saying this to deter you or scare you, but some people are making only $60,000, for example, as lawyers. It very much depends on what kind of firm you're working at, if you're working at a firm at all, and where in the country or world that you're working. This is something that I didn't really think about originally going in, so I want to make sure that all of you guys are aware of this. A poll of the r/law school admissions subreddit revealed that out of approximately 500 students, of them spent between $500 and $2,000 on law school applications alone. That's including the LSAT registration, which is approximately $200, potentially a LSAT preparation course, which can go up to $1,300, as well as the fee from the school for their application, which can be from $60 to $90, plus which is called the CAS report fee, which for this year was $45, but in past years has been a little less, so you can expect that it might increase over the next few years. That all adds up really fast if you're applying to multiple schools, and if you want more tips on how to make your law school applications much less costly, make sure to stay tuned because I'm going to be covering that in a future episode. So that's just another thing to consider. Just think about the cost behind applying for law school and make sure it's something that you can take on and something that you do truly want to take on. As far as law school, I've already said that it's going to be a very stressful process, and even though I'm not in law school yet, I'm fully aware from friends, coworkers, and fellow YouTubers that it's going to be a really, really stressful time in my life. So make sure you are aware of all of the stress that's going to come with actually attending law school, whether that means reading a lot of complex reading assignments, being under a lot of time restrictions, having to push yourself potentially out of your comfort zone, potentially moving out of state or at least out of your city, taking on hundreds of thousands of dollars of financial financial burden, and just in general, undertaking something that is completely different from undergraduate studies. Law school is going to be a huge wake-up call if you think that you can just slide through it without any effort. So do your best to be informed, do some research, and talk to people who are lawyers or who are in law school so you can figure out what a typical day is like for a lawyer and a law student so you know what is to come for your future. Another thing I want to make sure you guys do is make sure you know your mental state going into law school, and make sure you know exactly how you de-stress best. If that's listening to music, if that's exercising, make sure you have that on lock before you go to law school so that when times do get tough and stressful, you know exactly how to fix it for yourself. Which brings me to my next point. I talked to you earlier about my why. Make sure before you go to law school, you know your why. This is going to be really important to keep you on track for the process that's coming. One of the things that will keep your drive up and keep you going and encouraged through this time is your why. So think about why you want to go to law school. Something more than just your uncle went to law school or your mother went to law school, or it can make a ton of money, or I can help people. Why do you want to help people? Why do you want to make a bunch of money? What qualities in your uncle or mother as a lawyer do you admire and want to emulate? Thinking about these sort of things before you apply will help inform things like your personal statement, which we'll talk about later. But your personal statement is basically a component of your law school application that allows admissions counsels to know you and your personal story better. So make sure you think about your why in preparation for that too. The other reason your why is so important is a lot of times in law school and in life, a lot of people are going to try to derail you from what you want to do and constantly dissuade you from what that is. If you're fully confirmed in your reasoning behind attending law school, then no one should be able to shake you. Not even yourself, not your professors, and not your fellow students. Now, me making all these scenarios is not to scare you away from applying, but just to make sure you are fully informed of what's to come and what may happen along your journey. So those are just a few of the things you can think about if you are considering whether you should or if you can go to law school. Stay tuned for the next episode in this series where I talk about all of the tips that I wish I knew before this crazy application process. Make sure to subscribe so that you are notified of the next video in this Leveled Up Law series. And if you have any questions that you want me to address, make sure to drop them in a comment down below and I'll be sure to talk about them in another episode. Thank you for joining me in the very first episode of Leveled Up Law. Stay fly, fairy flock, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye! By the way, if any of you are curious, I got this shirt from #BlackGirlsDoLaw on Instagram. If you want to check their site and apparel out, I will leave a link in the description. This is by no means sponsored by them. I legitimately just thought this was a super cute sweater, so I ordered it for myself. Yeah! Thanks once again for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!